switching to our last guest, I would like to tell a small joke because we are here in a room full of product managers, and everybody's actually the CEO, everybody's a product manager. One time, a product manager walks into a bar, and there he finds a supermarket, and he's surprised, and he asks the manager, "What's here? I thought it's a bar." We just did a little pivot. So this is how basically products are changing. Product managers think they worked on something, and then things are being changed by developers. Also, what's very interesting to find is that products will change, but communities will stay. And Mr. Josef Dunne, who is the co-founder of Babelverse, which is an open interpretation platform, will describe to us how he managed to make this process going, changing the product and keeping the community happy and alive. So I would like to invite our last guest, and we're done with Mr. Josef Dunne.
Salute! So, Joseph and Mael, we are really, here as co-founders. We also have our software engineer, Joseph, in the audience. So, I'm going to talk a bit about mindset, first of all, before we get into actually what we've been doing for the past 4 years, because this story this is 4 years, and this isn't exclusive. We never really talk about it much. So, whoops. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm from a transitional generation. The generation that knew what the dial-up sound was, the generation that used the Etch-a-Sketch. And I've watched the internet evolve and mature over time, and followed along with all the early trends and adopted all the new technologies, and constantly try them. So, Lego was a big thing for me when I was young. Building things, building blocks, mashing up, trying to solve a problem with lots of external pieces and throwing them together. Another thing that I would do a lot, I would break things. My mother, made me install my own internet connection in my house because, because she didn't know what it was also. But I also broke the home computer a lot, so I had to then also go out and buy my own computer. So I broke a lot of things, and I tinkered and experimented. And this is a frame of mind. And I don't read many books. I definitely do not read books. I just try and see what happens, get a result, and then I learn through trial and error. And that's a common theme throughout Babelverse and what we're about to talk about. So, Babelverse, yeah. We have a problem. We had a problem. We needed a solution. Babelverse was actually founded in Athens, in Greece, in 2009-10. And I moved there for a job. I was previously working I was in the corporate world as a web developer. Moved to Greece and couldn't communicate at that time with my very basic Greek. Often got lost. Had to deal with the bureaucracy because I was living and working there too. And there was a lot of bureaucracy, obviously. And the food, and ordering food and feeding myself, surviving, right? And then business would come, and I'd have to do business with Greeks, and you needed some level of Greek in order to argue back, right? And then we would attend a lot of events like this and conferences, but they would be only in Greek and not in a language I understood. So I would often use, we tried many solutions to this. Back in 2010, there was Google Translate. This is a modern version, but what's interesting about this is it doesn't work. I mean, we have apa meochi duchela kamatra chonde oe haveatim. Then you leave me to gossip when sheep have time. Or interestingly, in this slide here, the two translations done exactly at the same time. One on the mobile website and one on the website, and the actual output was different. So there's the unreliability of machine translation. So, had an idea. Phone a friend. Had many friends in Greece, and they were such hospitable people, very friendly. You just give them a call, and they will help you communicate with someone through the telephone. Simple as that. That's the simple solution, and it was the most effective solution too. So this idea of phoning a friend wasn't just reserved for Greece. I mean, this could be a global thing. Wherever I go in the world, I can access an interpreter quickly, a person. So we took it to a startup weekend. That's the original pitch. And then after startup weekend, we continued on. And we do things like business model canvas. That's something that doesn't interest us, but post-it note canvas is what we would say, a bit of chaos. So this is a very early picture of us trying to throw those Lego bricks about. And now I will tell you what happened after that point and how we have been measuring the progress of the vision and the whole ambition. So we have, for you gamers out there, we have XP'd this. So we have a community, purple, product, development, awareness, that refers to awareness of the problem to the global audience, and also awareness of Babelverse ourselves, so brand recognition is included in that, and also the money stuff, the business. And it's lovely traditional blue, so let's watch that bar. So we started off, we needed a name, we needed a logo, we needed an identity. We thought, it actually came very, very early, the name, and it was perfect it was perfectly suited what we were trying to solve. And you've heard of the Babelfish, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a lot of inspiration. And people take the name Babelverse and they interpret it in their way. So we had that. So the awareness went up slightly, the red bar. And we had a vision. This is a driving force for us. Really, this is our vision already. Our vision is for everyone to be able to truly communicate and understand each other, simply speaking their native language. This isn't about English. This isn't about Mandarin. This is about everybody being able to communicate. Diversity, embracing the diversity of the human race. And we had to have a mission too. How are we going to get there? And we had an idea that we need to assemble a very, very strong community of millions of members who spoke any language. We didn't reserve it for the top 10 languages. We accepted the small languages, the ones that are spoken by just a handful of people. You'll be surprised at how many languages are actually spoken on the planet. And an important thing is we wanted it to be affordable, because when we were in Greece, we needed access to an interpreter, but we didn't necessarily have the budget to pay for a professional interpreter. And at that point, we didn't consider a professional interpreter. My solution was go on Google Translate or use the machine, So, yep. So, internal hackathons, interestingly, been a discussion. Overnighting it. So we had the vision, we had the mission, we had a logo, we had a brand. How do we apply this? This happened. In March 2011, there was a tsunami, and there was a need for interpretation between the rescue services, the journalists who were on the ground, needed to communicate with the victims, and vice versa. So there was a solution for that. And overnight, we got some beers, and we created this one-page website, which we promoted through the hashtag #HelpJapan. The Red Cross, Google help page picked up on this, and it was retweeted. So Twitter was our channel to expose this to the world. Once it was out there, people came, and it was actually put out there in English initially, because obviously we had nobody to translate it for us. But the community translated it for us. They did it very quickly into Japanese. And what's interesting about that is we had APIs back in 2010, but we weren't interested in necessarily, we were forced into just solving that need now, fast and very quickly. So it was almost like it forced us to do something and actually make something that works. So it was usable immediately, but it wasn't pretty. And we had a first piece of press coverage, which was interesting. And gradually the bars are going up. So something else we do a lot, which is a bit of a expose, is we fake a lot of things, which gets us to certain places. So, faking it. There was an event in Athens. It was the TED Women event in 2011. Hillary Clinton was giving a broadcast to the world, and it was coming in English, but the people in the room didn't understand, so we makeshift created a very simple solution for people to call a number on Skype, through Skype, to connect to a person that was standing outside the room, just over here, interpreting the video that was coming from Washington here to the people in the audience. So that was that. And then we also took that further and we created a prototype at the web conference. And this is the mock-up of the next stage of the next iteration of the faking it. We actually did it. We proved that we validated it. And we were using Flash at that point, but we were very aware that technology was moving forward for real-time communication. You may be aware of something called WebRTC, Web Real-Time Communication. This is a new protocol that has evolved over time, which we have available for us now, but back then we were doing this over Flash. So the sequel, yeah. So we come back to hackathons, internal hackathons. At the time, we saw another need for real-time interpretation to a global audience, which was President Obama's annual State of the Union. And we saw also, at that point, an opportunity for press coverage, an opportunity for exposure, an opportunity to make a statement. So we wrote a press release, and the title of the press release was that Babelverse will translate, in real time, President Obama's speech into 7,000 languages. They added the word up, obviously, but it caught their attention. How did it go? Actually, we created a makeshift website overnight. We had 1,000 people tune in to watch the live stream of President Obama, but the important thing is we needed to build a community. We needed the people to power that. And through the previous public kind of hackathons that we've done, we had a very basic community. This example here, anyone could come onto this web page and they could interpret the live stream themselves. But what was important, we weren't checking quality. We just let anybody say, "Oh, I can interpret," and they would just, they would just speak. It was only an hour long. What was interesting about that is we had a very basic quality control system. So if there were 5 Spanish speakers interpreting President Obama, the user would have a thumbs up, thumbs down, and then we would, when someone connected to the audio stream, Spanish, we would connect them to the one that had the most plus ones. And it sparked a lot of curiosity, and it also continued to grow our community. And there was a little bit of an unexpected result of the President Obama hack, which was this. So going back to our mission and our vision, we always wanted to include everybody. Inclusiveness is really important for us. And Chinese media picked up on this, and people were watching the live stream of President Obama in Mandarin, in Wu, in Cantonese, in real time. But importantly, they actually picked up on the fact that we hadn't forgotten that there isn't just one Chinese. There are many. And they stuck this on a press article, and it increased the number of various types of Chinese speakers that we have on our platform. So we got some major buzz in China, which was huge for us. And everybody could watch the speech before the media had taken it and spun it however they wanted. So that was great for us. So let's think about it. We had a community, but we didn't actually have a system in place to segment them into quality levels. So we came up with the idea of ninja, martial arts and belt system, ranking system. And we solved this very quickly from feedback that we had from our community and our users telling us that they had a bad experience with an interpreter and we needed to solve quality. So that came. And also we published some rates. We published, this was the point when we started to actually publish how much does it cost. People are starting to get very interested in Babelverse, and they want to start to know how much can I earn from this? How much does it cost to use? And so we published rates, but the rates for this type of platform have to be global because languages aren't national. they're international. They cross borders. Spanish is an example, the whole of Latin America, apart from Brazil, but each country has a different cost of living. So making a cost for a Spanish to English interpreter is quite complicated because you don't know where those people are because this is a virtual world. And we had to come up with an algorithm to create a price between two languages. And this is actually public on our website. And it also, what this did is spark curiosity in the professional industry. So we started to get onto their radar. Then we launched it. So we took this to, we spent 3 months in a shed in London. I'll show you. And we had one mission. The mission was to create an actual product with a great user experience, a great UI, something that felt classy, something good, but was based on all the learnings that we had in the past. This is where we slept. We were 3 months in there with no toilet. That's our designer, Zach. We were 3 guys at that point. And this is what we created. And we created a partnership with the Next Web. And we drove from London to Amsterdam to present this. And something that was important about this is we realized there's a potential thing we can test out, which was selling virtual tickets to access to content, the live content, in another language. So we put up this wall and we charged €1. So we actually made money when we went public. But we also had a sponsorship because we believed in inclusivity, and some people that were in Brazil or in other parts of the world, they couldn't access that content, so we had an option for people to sponsor that. And TNW sponsored hundreds of tickets for viewers all over the world. And that was the actual screenshot of when you enter. So you have an option to disconnect. You can actually rate the interpreter, thumbs up, thumbs down, any technical problems. And we introduced another little feature, which is tipping, which has now actually become donations. For these interpreters, so they had another incentive. So if the interpretation is great, you can give a tip. You can leave a tip. So yeah, no more faking. That was a two-day conference, and we had a partnership. We had an official partnership, so it had to fucking work, right? And it did, and it actually made money for the professional interpreters. And we made a minimal amount of revenue to pay for our car from London to Amsterdam because we were living in a shed because we had no money, bootstrapping. Right. There is one more, fake. So this is a video of this is almost like the press release. We created a video to show off the potential of Babelverse in the future. So we're constantly throwing these things out there, and then maybe in 5-6 years we'll get there and we'll build it. So hopefully it's going to work. But German in Greece. There's no sound. No sound? Hang on a minute. The idea of this video was, this happened when I was actually traveling through Greece in a small village, and I came across a German guy who just moved to this place, and he couldn't communicate. And I thought it was a perfect opportunity to actually show Babelverse in action and fake it. And it was very grainy. I had to source a video camera, which was tape, and no sound.
Ich habe eine Idee. Babelverse. Warten Sie.
And this wasn't a pharmacist. This was just a guy, friend's father of mine.
Ich stehe hier in Griechenland in einer Apotheke und habe mir den Finger geschnitten und brauche was zum Desinfizieren. Können Sie mir das übersetzen, bitte?
Simple, right? That was trying to prove point with a low budget, and it worked really well for us. because people then showed interest in another potential. They saw the potential of it. So we had this product from the Next Web, and it was actually improving. And we then had interest from other events and organizers that wanted to run Babelverse for their conferences. They became jealous, and TechCrunch was one of them. And we actually did something even bigger at that point. Our community had grown a lot, and our awareness was about to skyrocket. We actually created a microsite for them where the viewers could watch the live stream in up to 12 languages. We did 12 languages at that time, when those are all the interpreters on the right-hand side. So another thing is we also localized that each microsite into the other language, and more importantly, all the social media buttons on there, the Twitter, the tweet, the Facebook, the like, are also localized with pre-written tweets in Japanese, in Arabic, in Italian, in all the other languages. So when that person was tweeting, they weren't experiencing English, they were experiencing the full conference in their language, including the conversations. So TechCrunch then, got a lot of exposure in these places by actually pushing it out there. So that was a discovery, the social media feature there. And this is from the other side. This is from the interpreter's view. They also watch the live stream, and they have some basic buttons in order to mute themselves or switch between another interpreter. And these interpreters are remote. They could be anywhere in the world. So this is all. And we also had our first helpline, which was just, it would connect to my phone or Mael's phone. And we were actually at the event trying to run the whole thing and answering support calls. And then, anyway, the awareness grew because of these huge events. And we had actual real interest now from companies, global companies that wanted to pay us. But, yeah, the problem with that. So, example, too many requests, lots of customer service, just a small team. We were just about, I think we were 4 or 5 people, not scalable. We were losing track of the innovation. And we were not working for ourselves, we were working for someone else. And that's not what it's about. So, something else that was really important is the diversity. So we create many side projects, and this is one of them. This is the World Languages Project, which this is a sneak preview because we're currently building this. I'll tell you where at the end of the talk. We're currently building this Wikipedia-style languages database. The idea is that we want to preserve and understand all the different languages of the world, but at the same time, this feeds in to our platform. So when you search for Romanian or Moldovan, you will get information about that language, and we will actually start to raise awareness about the diversity of languages. So this is all about awareness. This is all about, this is part of our DNA. Then we had a kind of, the epiphany happened. We realized, what the fuck are we doing? What is it that we're doing? Babelverse is not an app. It's a community. It's a matchmaking. We've figured out how the different skill levels are working. And it took us 4 years to get to this point, to figure this out, through all of those experiments, through all of those public hackathons, through all of the controversy and all of the hatred and love, and your community loves you and hates you and thinks you're crazy that you keep changing things, but we needed to get back on track and aim for the vision, aim for the mission. So this was an epiphany that we had. And as I said, technology was moving forward, and APIs are becoming more and more common, and they are becoming the Lego bricks of the future. So since we'd figured out a lot of what Babelverse is, we now are developing an API, so everyone like Manpower Group or TechCrunch or NextWeb can then build their own interfaces on top of our API. What's important to us is the community, the quality. This is a very early screenshot of the API page, but it's not public yet. So, and it will be soon. So that's work in progress. And we currently live there. I don't know if anyone knows where that is. That is in Tohanunu in Brasov. And we have this culture of throwing ourselves into unexpected places. I came to Cluj about 6 months ago. I loved Romania a lot. I really love it here. I love everything about it. And I thought, let's bring the team to somewhere remote, somewhere where we can focus, and somewhere where we can not be distracted. London is a huge distraction, and what we can achieve in Romania in 1 month would take us 3 months in London. So we moved to Brasov. And we have to go back there on Saturday, and it's beautiful. So fuck the product, build the solution. Thank you. Mulțumesc.
That was great.
Mael, you want to join me?
A few questions. Yeah. We have plenty of time for the questions.
Okay.
Right. Somebody? Anybody? Okay. Monica.
Answered them all already.
Hi, Joseph. I'm
That's
Monica.
a good thing. Oh, hello.
I bet you hear this a lot and you love hearing it. How did you build trust that the people that are translating the right thing? Do you have the problem? It feels like.
We definitely had the trust issue. We have trust issues like constantly managing the expectations, managing the community. We spent more time solving the trust issues and building the community relationships. We would have meetups with our community members. We would I think we're probably going to try to do one in Brasov if we get the chance. You know, we just look through our database. We send an email to these people, say, come, we're going to have a meetup. We hear their feedback. What was important, I think, was the trust with the professional industry, the black level industry, the traditional industry. Hello.
Hello.
Do you want to talk about trust?
Yeah, about trust. One important thing about that was really, as he was saying, recognizing skills and making a difference between people who are eager to help and people who have the ability to help, and to channel each one into the right situation where they actually can help.
Yeah, and I don't know where we got the idea of ninja, like martial arts and belts, but I think we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. There's something that everyone understands. It's universal, you know, martial arts, colors, belts. It made sense. It was universal. That was applied to a universal problem, to a universal platform. And everybody, you know, we're very open. We are. You can call us. Like our community can literally call us, actually. They have us on Skype, they have us on Google Hangouts. We are constantly in touch with our community. I'm not sure how that's going to scale, but at the moment it's manageable. We probably need to get some community ambassadors.
Yeah.
But that's an important thing of listening to people, meeting them in person, getting out there, out of your cave, and actually meeting your community wherever they are, which for us, they could be anywhere, the middle of Siberia, and we will go to the middle of Siberia to meet these people. So, yeah, that's how we build trust.
And if I may, I have one more question. Looking back, can you spot some walls that you hit that were clear points that you were looking at your product the wrong way, looking at your company as a product company and not a community company?
Sorry, I didn't get the first part of it.
Yeah,
It was
so
muffled.
looking back,
Looking
you were
back.
treating it as a product company and not a community company. What were, I don't know, metrics that you were following or something like that, that now looking back were like the moments? Like, how did we not figure out we're looking at this from the wrong point?
Metrics, yeah. Interestingly, for this presentation, I was told to come up with metrics. We don't do metrics. I mean, we have kind of guidelines, best practices. But so I hope that the fact that we came up with the Babelverse XP thing, that's the closest we have to metrics right now.
And the period that Joseph spoke about, where we were trying to sell it and we had all these enterprise clients and partnerships, it was because we were trying to kind of do the traditional way of coming up with metrics, because investors were asking us, for example, you know, what are your metrics? And we thought, okay, we need to create some, you know, but that was really a distraction.
I think we're quite stubborn, actually.
That's not what we cared about. We
No.
wanted to build a solution And so at a certain point, we said, okay, let's stop this.
Yeah.
This is a waste of time.
Joe, are we stubborn? That's our software developer. Yes. Very stubborn. And if you know the more of the story, there's obviously a lot more to it. We've turned down a lot of investment on this as we've grown. As the awareness raises, the investors come knocking. You know, they knock. We had an email from Andreessen Horowitz sent to our inbox whilst we were at TechCrunch trying to run the service with those 12 languages, 40 interpreters calling us. Just an email sent through our contact form. You know, that's, but we didn't go there. It would have, we would have become puppets. Max?
Yeah, continuing on the investor side, so how do you convince investors to go along with the story where business is basically that fourth priority? How does that work?
Probably the best answer to that would be make your community be your investors, so go with crowdsourcing. It's something we haven't done yet. We wanted to do that very early on in Babelverse, but crowdsourcing was very new and we couldn't. There was no platform in Europe making
But
it
you
possible.
did have investors, right? You guys
Yep.
went through 500, some other...
Yeah, 500 invested in us, but I think they invested in the entrepreneurs, obviously, not in whatever it was that we were doing. So they invested in me and Mael at the time, and the craziness. And you know, 500 Startups invests everywhere in the world. So there was a parallel between 500 Startups and Babelverse that worked well, and we gelled. So yeah, it worked. The relationship worked.
Yeah, it's more of a human thing than a metrics thing, or convincing.
Yeah. The metrics will come, I guess, but.
Any more questions, guys? One more, let's go for one more. One more. Who's in? Nobody? Okay, I'll go for it. Guys, I was curious about your company culture. Do you consider yourself being a distributed team or you're a mobile team? Because you said you moved recently to Brasov and you're running the company from here. Yeah, it's a very interesting model, and I want you to say a few words about that.
Have you heard of Automatic?
Yeah, it's the most representative distributed
Okay,
team in the
I
world.
said I didn't read a book. I read one book. There was one book that I read some time ago. It was called Rework by Heine Meyer Hansen. I think he did Rails, right?
Right.
I admired that approach, and that's probably one of the reasons why we tried to keep it as a distributed team. But
Yeah,
do you have
and
anything
to answer your question, we call ourselves Glomads.
Yeah.
So it's a word we came up with that defines this kind of lifestyle where you live globally. You're not a tourist. You don't like travel in the traditional sense, but you live in different places all the time.
I think the future, we've been trying out services like Airbnb, Uber, Clever Taxi, for example. Those services are going to enable us to turn up in any part of the world and function quickly. So, you know, the Brasov house is through Airbnb, through the sharing economy, which has matured since we started Babelverse. I don't know if we'd have went to Brasov back then, because I wouldn't know necessarily, you know, we want to use the services, we want to try them out and give feedback. So, yeah.
And one of the reasons we're building an API is to integrate with all these sort of new services and apps that enable this kind of
We do
lifestyle.
plan. We're not that crazy, but we you know, it's organized chaos.
Wonderful. Yeah.
No.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Babelverse.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
What's the message?